Welcome back, everyone. It's finally time to do something again with my life. Tonight, which is probably a dumb idea, we're gonna do my water pump. So it's already getting dark. I got some light, but we're gonna get started on it. Drain the coolant, take off this inner fender well. We gotta get the fan shroud off, and then take the clutch fan off, which I have a few tricks for that. I don't know if they'll work, but we'll get started now. We're just draining the coolant right now. I had it drain into a funnel and into a catch pan. Tried to catch as much as possible so I don't go broke refilling this thing, but I should probably do thermostats too, but it's alright. We're gonna go and start taking the rest of it apart, so should be fun. Alright guys, so we pulled the inner fender well off, and this is going to be kind of a problem with the 3-inch intercooler pipe getting in here to get these bolts. But there's 2 bolts back yonder on this tube that runs to the back of the block for the water pump. So now we're going to take the top shroud off, which is these bolts right here on top. There's 4 of them. This is your TCM. Just your shroud, and then we're gonna take the clutch fan off, and I'll show you how to do that. Hopefully we can get it off. I don't know, it's pretty seized on there. I'm gonna spray it with some Freon now, so we'll see if we can get it going. Hopefully I can do this pretty quick. I've done it before, so hopefully not 4 hours. That'd be great. Alright guys, so after you take out these 4 bolts here, I got one more to take out because I'm an idiot. You got these little clips down, hiding down yonder. They basically work. Oh, here, I want to hold this for a second. So you pop the top part out with like a screwdriver, like such, and then you just pull them out, and they just pop out. You take the 4 out on each side, or 2 on each side, and pull the whole shroud out, and that's it. So if you don't have like a clutch fan tool that's basically like a crow's foot on an extension, you can sometimes, hopefully we'll get lucky, is take this this pry bar and a hammer, and they're reverse threaded, so you have to spin it to the right. So I gotta make sure I do this right. And then you can basically just hit them. I don't know if this is gonna work, but and you just gotta beat them off. And that's about it. It's a lot easier with like an air hammer. Alright, so we've been beating on it for a little bit, but we're gonna do a few more good whacks because this should break it loose. And there it is. Clutch fan is free. Remember, it's reverse threaded. Ooh. There it is. Coming out.
She gone.
Please don't break that.
Just toss her over there in the dark, boys.
Alright guys, while we had this all taken apart and everything, I fixed my fuck up of putting these washers on backwards and they were leaking. So I fixed that one, so hopefully that'll fix the leak on the transmission. I mean the radiator, what the fuck am I saying? Transmission line. And like I said, I'm going home here shortly. So while I'm home, I'm actually gonna order a like an upgraded trans cooler, so I can actually have some cool temps while I'm driving. You know, I've been overheating every day. All right, guys. So now we're looking at the water pump. So this, here, let me get my light. Hold on. All right. So there's this tube right here that comes down off the thermostat housing. You need to take these bolts off. Disconnect this line right here, the clamp, pull this line out, and there's a bolt behind it, and there's 2 bolts over here, and then take the bottom radiator hose off here. The 2 bolts I was already showing you are back there, and then you can pull the water pump out and put the new one in. So the reason I'm doing this is because I thought that so my truck has like no signs of head gasket, right? No bubbling, no overheating, no hard radiator hose, no nothing, except at like red line when I'm like racing it or whatever, it pushes coolant out. And I was reading a forum, and I think that the impeller might be slipping off the shaft while at high speeds under a lot of load, and I've had a TIG welded one for like ever. So now we're getting ready to put it in, and we're just gonna run a TIG welded water pump, and hopefully that fixes our issue of pushing coolant. You know, I'm sick of dealing with it. Alright guys, so everything sucks on the Duramax, and I had to pull the harmonic balancer off to get the last bolt for the water pump. So hopefully after that I get the water pump off and keep putting it all back together.
Need a few of these.
Yeah, I haven't even finished my first one. Alright guys, so we had to pull the balancer off, which isn't off yet, but we had to take the bolt out, which is this mammoth thing right here. So what we actually did was we put a breaker bar on the bolt, set it on the frame rail, and then crank the engine. Just like, you don't want to crank it, but you just want to like just tap it, and it actually broke the torque loose and we were able to get it loose. So hopefully the balancer comes off pretty easy, and then I can get this water pump off and continue on our way. We've really been this is taking longer than I thought, so now I know why it takes 4 hours. So it's been a process. I had to move my intercooler pipe up out of the way to get the back bolts, and I'll explain everything after. So alright guys, so we got the old water pump out. If you can see here, I gotta take these two studs out of here and put them in the new one. I have a new housing and it's TIG welded. A buddy of mine sent this to me. It's out of a pulling truck, so it's LB7, but it shouldn't matter. So basically what I think was happening is anyways, a long time ago, it was actually leaking out of the weep hole, which is bad. So that's number one. I should have changed it when I had it. But two, what I think was happening is the impeller was spinning around the shaft, or the shaft was spinning inside the impeller, whatever you want to say, under high RPMs, like high load, and it was causing my truck to kind of not move coolant and boil, or like push it out at least, like over pressurize, and not really move the coolant, and that's why I was spitting coolant out. So hopefully this fixes the losing coolant issue and the leaking coolant, and I should have no more coolant issues after this. But well, I guess we'll find out. Alright guys, new O-ring on, new gasket, old O-ring with some RTV, because apparently the gasket kits don't come with this O-ring. So we put a little RTV on it just to make sure it seals, and the O-ring was beat, so get to install it now. We're making forward progress. We got the new water pump installed with all the gaskets. So these bolts are tight. There's the 3 bolts. There's one right behind this tube, so I made that mistake. I put the tube on first. You gotta keep this tube off, tighten the bolt in the back, tighten the bolt behind the balancer, and there's one underneath here. Now I need to tighten the 2 bolts behind the tube on this side, which is down over here. So, here, hold on. We got the 2 bolts right there, and then that'll be it, and then we'll start buttoning the whole truck back up. Alright guys, so the water pump is in. The 3 bolts on the front, the 2 bolts to this tube, oops, the hose on the bottom, and the 2 bolts back here. So now it's basically going to be buttoning everything back up. So once you get the new water pump in, I'm really gonna go over the process and in reverse. Next we need to put the sorry, I was looking way off. Next we need to put the harmonic balancer on and tighten that up, and I have no idea how we're gonna get it tight, but we'll figure something out. Yeah. Alright guys, I know this is terrible light. Oh fuck. This thing's massive though. I don't know if you ever seen one. I'm about to drop it though. But the crankshafts on these things are huge. But if you know anything about anything, that if you can see right there, it's already a wear mark from the little pin on the crankshaft. And if you know Duramaxes, they're known for snapping that. And a reluctor wheel braking and breaking the crankshaft, and mine's already digging in. Hopefully we're alright for another few thousand miles until I can build an engine, but we'll see. Hopefully. I hope so. This is getting bad, boys. Every time I'm finding new shit. So we're gonna get the balancer put back on and tightened up, and we'll have to think of a crazy new way to tighten it up. So I'm gonna do that now. Alright, so we're torquing the harmonic balancer bolt right now. According to SoCal Diesel, I just went on the torque specs on their page. The first one's 74 foot-pounds, and the next torque is the second stage is going to be 105 degrees of rotation. So we're going to actually, what we'll do is we'll put the breaker bar on, kind of mark. We're going to do about 90 degrees and then go, we're going to eyeball it because we don't have a degree torque wrench, but we're going to go about 105 degrees turned while holding the crankshaft still. So that's kind of how you torque it. All right, you ready? Yeah. That's on. So now we're gonna put the clutch fan on. So the nice thing is you can just kind of spin it on and give it a few good whacks on the way we took it off. And actually before we do that, we gotta put the bottom shroud on. I'm gonna put the intercooler pipe on, so I don't go too far out of order. But anyways, what I was saying is you can spin the clutch fan on, and because it's reverse threaded, it self-tightens, so you just gotta hit it a few times to get it snug. And it'll tighten every time you start the truck, so we'll get to doing that. So this is the bottom shroud's in, all the belts on, the AFE intercooler pipe's on. I'm gonna spin this fan on. So drop this down in here like this. Like I was saying, hold on here. I mean, I think we got some pretty good ones, though. I think we do. Bam. So it's on. I'm gonna tap it on a few times, and it should get tightened every time it starts up, because the way the engine spins. Yeah, that's what I figured. Maybe not though. Yeah. So that spins that way. This spins that way. So it'll tighten itself up. So hopefully here shortly we'll get some coolant in it and start it back up. So guys, we got everything back together with some minor difficulties, and we actually had to take the hose off right here and pour coolant in this hose because I'm an idiot. And I have this routed too high over the turbo, so it wasn't bleeding into the system. So, but so far so good. We're just letting the whole coolant system bleed and work through. I don't think we have any leaks. So that about does it for the water pump install. I kind of went over the hard part. Easy part's just putting this on, the shroud, the fan, and everything else. So, I mean, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We're gonna continue bleeding the coolant system. And I hope you guys like the video. Hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. We'll see you later with more Duramax fixes.